Assalamu alaikum, fam. Hope you're doing well. So, again, reading this excellent book. Let's go in the title again for you. You know, it's the grade 1, Aqida Tawhid, the Creed of Monotheism, Dr. Saleh Al-Fawzan. Essentially, we are digging into the different types of Tawhid. And so far what I've learned is that Tawhid is a comprehensive meaning, and that essentially means you have to believe in Allah alone and associate no partners with Him in worship. And then it also contends that Allah alone has the right of Ar-Rububiyyah, sorry, it's hard to pronounce, lordship. So only Allah has lordship in that sense of Tawhid. Okay? And then the correct Tawhid affirms Allah's names and attributes. So that's another distinction that I'm beginning to learn about. The author also contended there are 3 types of Tawhid. So Tawhid al-Rububiyyah, Tawhid ul-Uluhiyyah, and Tawhid al-Asma wa Sifat. So essentially, the Tawhid al-Rububiyyah is to single out Allah and His actions. Okay? Now, that is pretty cool because I was learning about that, and I said, wow, Tawhid in the actions, right? That's really interesting. And so you also have to believe that Allah alone is the creator of all creatures. Very important, which I think most of us get, but it's good that He reiterates it for us. And essentially, that He is the sustainer of all beings, and provision comes from Him. It's clear that the provision comes from Allah when we think of Islamic monotheism, but it coupled with actions and the creation of creatures as well as provision, it really makes it come into the picture even more so in terms of Tawhid, monotheistic Aqida, right? He is the possessor of all dominion and the controller of the entire universe. He grants all authority. He chooses who to debase or exalt. It concerns His lordship, to believe in His names and attributes. So essentially, this is a real breaking down of what does it mean to have pure Tawhid. So all lordship and everything that follows under this concept of lordship, our Rububiyyah, is all for Allah. Actions, creation, sustenance, all the dominion, granting all authority. And so you're like, wow. And then the author also gave me some insights, and you as well, that Allah exalts and debases. So nothing is out of the ability of Allah, right? And that this is something we should remember. Also, it gives Quran citations as well. So Allah is the creator of all things, 39:62, and then 11:6, and no living creature is there on earth, but its provision is due from Allah. So again, the provision aspect, right, is very important. Further, the proclaiming of Allah's oneness regarding al-Rububiyyah, the lordship over all the creators, he gave another one, is that Quran 1:2, all the praises and thanks be to Allah, the Lord of the Alameen, and Alameen is mankind, jinns, and all that exists. So that's pretty cool, again, because we've read that in the Quran, right? And we're like, Alameen. But sometimes it's like we forget that that's singling out a Tawheed. So how cool is that? So this ayat, this sign, the wording and such, is a good example of His lordship, His Ar-Rububiyyah. I mean, I thought that was very cool. Then they got into the topic of the Istawa, rising over the throne, and he notices for us that in a way that suits His Majesty, befits His Majesty. This is a tense topic for many groups, so he lays it out here for us, that the way in which you answer is in a way that befits His Majesty. And so another cool aspect was he noted that Allah created all the creatures in the cosmos, right? Everything in our reality, to affirm His lordship, His Rububiyyah. I thought that was pretty cool, man, because you think about it, you're like, oh. And he goes into how this is. And he also discusses communists, I thought was pretty badass. I thought, man, it's really cool to see a scholar break it down, because unfortunately the modern left in America is moving more and more towards Marxism, and some American Muslims who consider themselves liberals are teaming up with communistic groups and against Republican Christians. And I thought, somebody can marry. Hold on, fam. Uhtred's picking on the other bird. He steps on his feathers and then the other one screams. So, essentially, there is a breaking down in America of, where Muslims are going to go, right? And again, I argue communism doesn't mix with theocratic values, right? Christians, they can marry, Muslims and Christians can intermarry if they chase women. I read that in the Quran. Jews as well, even though you should find your own religion, right? But it is allowed. But a communist is a kafir, so you are more permitted to choose a person of the book than a godless atheist communist. So, yeah. Muslims versus kafirs. Communists are kafirs. Alright, so, most of them. Because you can't be religious and be a communist, because Karl Marx determined that religion is the opiate of the masses, and if you find a religious communist, I'd argue that they don't really know what Marx meant, and I read Marx, I have his book, so you would laugh them out the building. But he mentions here, quote, similar to this are those who denied the existence of the Allah today amongst the communists. They only deny it openly out of arrogance, otherwise they cannot but believe inside them that there cannot be something in existence except there is that which brings it into existence. So something bringing something into existence, instead of having the create out of nothing aspect, right? He goes further, also there cannot be a creature except with the existence of its creator, nor can there be an impression except with the existence of the one who made it. So the impression aspect is very cool, because if you see a deer, he made his impression in the ground, right? Something was there. So we have our own impression of our consciousness upon us that highlights much for us. And then it gives us a beautiful Quran verse, 52, 35, 36. Were they created by nothing, or were they themselves the creators? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? Nay, but they have no firm belief. So what I liked about this aspect was he gave us something to kind of show how communism and Islam don't mix, right? Even if you're a Muslim forced to live in a communist country against your will, I think that if you actually studied the values and goals of classical communism and how it organizes society and makes you worship the state with competing values, you begin to notice something there. He further gives us a really cool point about how things can attest to its creator. And then he orders us to ponder over the universe from bottom to top, left and right, over all the essential parts, and that if we do that in a very detailed manner, we'll see that creation attests to Allah as a fashioner and owner, and that if you deny that, you're sort of really not utilizing your mind to the fullest extent, and you're going against your natural instinct. So he didn't like how the communists brag about the denial of the existence of the Rabb, and how it's arrogant, and it's really in the opposition of human reason, and that if you have proper contemplation, the result of it will be you affirming the lordship of Allah as one, and there's no competitor in his authority, and if you have a sound intellect, you'll come to that conclusion with proper thinking. And so he argues, if you have this sort of godless communistic perspective, you're foolish and you've invited mankind to make fun of you. So again, very potent. Hope you learned something.